So I'm sure you've gone to YouTube before and you looked up how to animate lightning or lightning animation tutorial, and you probably had a video like this pop up. Yeah, I had the same thing happen to me. And when you animated it, it probably looked something more like this. Now on that short posted by Alex Kunchevsky, there were a lot of people that commented, I need a tutorial for this tutorial. So I'm kind of just doing that because no one else has really done it, and I thought, I know how he did it, so let's show how he did it. So going to his video and breaking it down frame by frame, which I've already done that for you, the first lightning bolt looks like this. There's your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, and finally the 12th, which is just it dissipating. After this, there are no more frames, it's just complete black. So there are 12 frames in total. Counting the 2 frames before and after the lightning strike, that means 14 frames. So you're going to want two blanks and then 12 different lightning bolts. So I'm doing this in Moho, but you can do this in any program. If you're in Krita, you're going to do it frame by frame. In Moho, we're going to do everything on frame 1 and do it by switch layers. So every time I say make a new layer, in Krita, you're just going to go basically to the next frame, or whatever you're using. If you have layers, you can also use them too. This is just how Moho works. So first we are going to do a switch group, and we are going to make a vector layer and make 1 through 12. Well, I guess we'll make 13 because 1 will be blank. So we'll name the first one blank. So now that we've got our reference, our guide, and we've got our frames all set up in our switch layer, we can now move on to animating. So the first thing you want to do, and remember also, you don't have to do this in Moho. You can also do this in Krita. I'm just showing Moho because that's what I use. Yeah, you're going to want a blank and you're going to want 12 frames because that's what we're working with. You can see that with these 12 frames, the first lightning bolt is off the ground and in the sky. So that's where you see the first one. But then immediately for I guess lack of a better word, a flash of lightning, it's on the ground. So it goes from cloud to ground in 1 frame. And then for the majority of the rest of the video, it is either re-striking the ground or staying on the ground. That is where it is. And only the last 2 frames does it actually kind of disconnect. So right there, as you see, it's kind of disconnected from the cloud and there's some free floating lightning. But it goes from 0 to 100, for another term I guess, all the way immediately. And if you look right here, you can actually see where that guide comes in handy. These are where those 2 dots are going to be that we're going to be kind of trying to avoid, I suppose. So, and then here, another dot, and another dot. So it goes from 0 to 100 real quick. So at the beginning, you're going to have just kind of, I guess, 1 and 2 dots, and then just kind of fading off, tampering off, whatever you want to call it, the remaining lightning. So as you can see, though, it's not a straight bolt. It's curved. It goes into like I suppose, a zigzag right here. The reason for that is no lightning is really straight if you've ever looked at lightning in the sky. It's always got a chaotic aspect to it. So we're going to try to capture that in this animation. So I'm going to bring his guide back up. This is not mine. This is his, if you've seen the video. So we're going to be doing 12 frames. 14 technically in total because the first one and last one will be blank. But the ones we're going to be working on are just 12. So I'm going to start with the off the ground one. So our ground is right here at the bottom and our cloud will be up here at the top of the screen. So, and make sure when you're doing this, as you can see, I'm using a stylus with pressure controls on. We are going to want to have our lightning bolt having multiple kind of pressures in it. That way it looks, well, A, like his lightning bolt, but B, also real lightning, such as like thick and thin in some parts. So we're going to start thick, go thin, thick again, thin, and tamper off into thin. So that will be our first lightning. Then we'll go to this one. We'll change our guide. And we'll drag it down, tamper off, thin, go down again, and strike. Oops, I made it a little thick there at the end. You can use the erase tool if you've got it, or I have a width tool since I'm in Moho. And I'm going to straighten out that bottom piece a little bit because it's a little too angular for my liking. There we go. Actually, maybe. No, that looks fine actually for lightning. So we'll keep that actually. Then we'll switch to guide, go to 3. So that's first, second, third lightning now. Don't like that one. Sorry, I'm not getting any bolts I really kind of love. Yeah, that one will work. And there is a such thing as too chaotic. Like this one actually might be a little bad, but we'll see at the end once we're kind of done with it. Just make sure you keep consistent where it's hitting the ground, whether you have to add to it or erase to it. And on some of these bolts, we're actually going to want to add some thicker parts to it. I know that doesn't feel right, but it'll look better in the kind of finished product. If we actually go and look at a few of his, and let's just hide this real quick. Notice he's got these thicker parts right, whoops, I moved his video. He's got these thicker parts right here, and they're on a couple of his lightning bolts. It adds that little extra power. It's also where he puts the highlights later. So, yeah, you really want those thick parts of the lightning bolt. Not on all of them, such as you see it gets really skinny to almost non-existent in some places, but you do want it in some of the more defined parts of it. So we'll go back to our example, go back to frame 0. Oops, there we go. Let's add a little more right there. And maybe a little bit right here. And it's not wrong to have like a little bit of lightning like taper off like into a smaller bolt and strike back into it. Like you can do that too, and it actually will look good sometimes. Heck, maybe you want to make that the thicker bolt too. We'll just see how that looks when we're going. Okay, the next part, go to the guide, go to 4. As you can see, we're kind of breaking the lightning off a little bit right here. From the, oops, kind of broke the lightning there. There we go. We're breaking the lightning up a little bit here. The reason we're doing that is to kind of give the bolt a little independence, but it might be a little early for that actually. Did he break it off this early? No, he did not, so I'm actually doing that a little early. So let's redo this bolt. So I'm jumping a little ahead by accident. So we just need to keep the chaotic aspect to it. All right. We'll go back to the guide, switch to 5, second to last one, go up to 5 here, bring down the lightning, go to 6, go back to the guide, go to 6 here, all right, and obviously I'm not copying his lightning exactly. I don't like how that one looks though. Oops, didn't mean to break it off that quick. Let's connect it right there. Make it thicker right here. Oops. Make it thicker right there. Let's add a little thickness right here. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's go back to our reference. Hide this. So frame 6. So we got frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 looks like where he actually did start splitting it up. So maybe I'll go back to mine and split it on frame 6 a little bit. Frame 6, it's, well, frame 6, layer 6, whatever we're calling it, depending on what you're using. Delete here and here. I think that's far enough apart. Let's see if he split it up too dramatically. Oops, am I one off? Let's see, no, I was one off, yeah. No, he kind of had that too. So, yeah, it looks like we can even split a little more off because he had 2 splits. We'll split it right about here, and I guess there. I think that's split it good enough. All right, so if we watch what we have currently, which I'll have to set it up really fast, let's hide his video for a second. Go to lightning. We'll do blank. 1. Let me hide the guide too. All right, so, oh, and blank. All right, so let's see what we've got. Let's repeat that so we can see it in succession. So as you can see, it's a little still rough. So if we'll just play it one more time so you can see it. As you can see, it looks okay, but it doesn't look like his video. And that's because we are just right here, oops, right here at this phase where it's starting to fade away, but it's still quite intense. And we haven't even added the shading, or I guess highlights and glow to it yet, which we are going to get to. So we'll delete these because we're going to add more to it, so these won't be really relevant after we're done. We'll go to 7, we'll bring our guide back. There we go. And the last lightning bolt was about here. Yeah, it's about here, so we're going to want our next, some interesting tapering there, but I actually am going to leave it alone. Let's go back to our example video of his and see what he did. That way I'm not doing a lot of guesswork here because he's way more experienced than me in this. So frame 6 is where we stopped. So frame 7, he actually reconnects it, as you can see. The whole bolt is one bolt again, and he forks it at the end and then has this little bit tapering off. So that's what we'll do with ours since we're going by his guide. Go back to frame 0. And wait, real quick, did he have it? Yeah, it looks like it bends a little up here. So compared to our current lightning bolt, where the guide has us, well, that's not where the guide has us. The guide has us down here. Oh, we're going to get rid of our guide for a second. Oh, I did the wrong one. Get rid of our guide for a second, and we're going to go back to frame 6. And as you can see, we're here. So we want the lightning bolt to straighten out a little bit. It's not going to be perfectly straight, but we're going to have it fork at the end where this is striking. So we'll bring our guide back, and all we're going to use the guide for now is where it's landing. You can still use the guide if you want to add a little chaos to it, but the lightning will be calming down at this point. So you're just going to be kind of just drawing really thick and thin lines and giving it a little bends and stuff. And then we're going to add, oops, screwed that part up. This part right here, where it gets really thick and kind of forks, which probably make it really thin at the end and thick at the top. And then over here, if you remember in his, somewhere right here, am I jumping over it? Where is it? There it is. He has this little lightning right here tapering off. Also looks like he bends it at the beginning, which I did not do. Probably will go back and add that in. So just grab all that real quick. We'll erase these. Connect it up. And again, thick parts aren't bad in lightning. They actually add to it. And we'll add the little bit, I guess it was more of like that. Electricity kind of tapering off over here. Make it a little thicker right there so it looks intentional. okay. Looks like his is a little smaller at the bottom, but I'm going to keep mine, see how it looks. Maybe I'll shrink it later. Next part, looks like it just goes back to being a regular bolt. So we'll go back to ours, go back to frame 0. His was a little straighter than that, I guess. Just make sure you're capturing that thickness and that thinness. And didn't really capture it there at the end. And the good thing about programs like this is you have an undo button. So just make sure you utilize that. All right, and his frame 9 looked like that. Takes a dramatic curve. So we'll make ours do the same. I'll just shrink the end there. Kind of went a little crazy with it. There we go. Does that look good? Might have shrunk a little too high up. Let's put that back to 100%. We'll call that good. Go back to frame 10, I believe we were on. Wait, is this frame 10? What was frame 9? Oh, that was right. Oh, so it's dissipating. Okay, so it's kind of whipping out. If you see right here, it's inward, and then it's whipping out a little bit. Also, something I'm noticing, I forgot on the last two to add the extra lightning that he has. Yeah, because no other frame has it. It just starts here as it's dissipating. Because if you notice, right around here, which onion skinning would come in handy here if you were on something like Krita, we just have to flip back and forth between layers on Moho. The lightning dissipates. So on our forked lightning, I didn't notice that until just now actually. Go back to our forked lightning. We want to have it dissipate from here. So I'm going to correct that real quick before we move on. So frame 0. All right, let's grab these 3, just get rid of them. And what we're going to do to make this layer look as good as possible, just going to grab this whole spot, copy it, and I'm just going to paste it into 7. And then we're just going to take away from it. So that's our kind of reference there. Let's delete the bigger parts. And split that up. Grab the edges of it. Go to the width tool, shrink it down. We'll see how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, now back to our reference. Yeah, he has some tapering off here too. Is it from... Okay, it's still affected from the previous one, as you can see. So it's the curve, it goes into the width, the curve still fading off. Still the curve fading off, but this time, down here, this is pulsing / tapering off away from the fork. So we need to remember that too. So we'll go back to frame 0. Go to the fork. Frame 8. We'll first copy these 3 because we're going to need them again. Paste them into 8. Oh, that is not right. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I only have part of them selected. As you can see, I forgot these dots. So now we'll copy them, paste them into 8. And then over here with freehand, we'll add a little bit of bolt, or electricity, I guess, fading away. And then we'll grab these, shrink them down a little, and then I'm gonna kind of squish them, move them that way. So let's see how that looks. I forgot to move them here. So let's move them up. We'll move this way. Let's bring it inward a little. That way it looks like it's fading. Okay, I think that looks pretty okay. All right, going back to his. Fork. Then looks like there's a little bit of remnants here, but it's basically faded gone. So we'll fade it out one last time. So grab these three, copy, paste. Oop, what did I do wrong? Copy. Oh, I'm not on frame 0. Paste them in, move them up a little more. Go to our width tool or erase tool if you're in something else. All right, are they still, they're kind of really gone now. Bring them back a little, shrink them. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get with that. So we'll just keep that in. Down here, I'm going to probably shrink the edges of this a tiny bit. No, just these two. That way it looks like it fades at the same rate as these. At least I think it didn't fade quite as fast. No, it remerged with the lightning. That's what happened to it. Then that is pulsating outwards. So we'll go back to here. Looks like we hadn't quite got to that frame yet. So we'll start making frame 10. So as you can see, it's just kind of a hook, maybe like a shepherd's hook. Goes pretty straight down, just kind of pulsating thick and thin. So we'll do the same thing. I curved it too much, too early. Then we'll add this little buddy right here. And it was thicker on parts like right here. That's going to be where a highlight is. Is it thicker anywhere else? It looks like right at the hook and right on the hook. Also a little higher up too. Eventually, I and you will be able to draw your own lightning without using someone else's reference art quite as much. Like, you always want to use reference art. Don't like ever think that, oh, I'm never going to have to use reference art. No, you're probably always going to use reference art. But there are going to be times you'll be able to improvise it a little better and not have to rely as heavily on it. Okay, we'll call that fairly good. And then I believe the last of it is just it fading away, correct? Yeah, so as you can see, it's just this same lightning bolt, but fading away. So you have two options here. One, you can take this lightning bolt and just start erasing, which is what I'm going to do. Or two, you can keep redrawing it until you get what you like. But I'm just going to copy it and paste it in and then just use the erase tool. All right, here we go. So erase that, erase that, erase that. It's there, there, there. Oops, why did it zoom in so much? Probably also could have done this, right? Yeah, forgot that with a button. All right. Looks like it's a little too thick up here. So we'll grab that, hold down Shift, grab that. Actually, that looks like it's okay. We just need to erase that line, that there. there, and that, because that doesn't need to exist anymore because it's already tapered off. Erase that. And this was a little more erased. Oh, wait, actually that little one by itself might have been okay. Do that. Erase a little bit. And let's just shrink down our eraser. Oh, the eraser doesn't shrink down. My mistake. Oh wait, no, yes it does, up here. Let's try 0. That's the size it was already. 0.01. That is a size, so we'll do 0.05. All right, so once you have your lightning looking kind of how you want it, which I'm going to add a little bit of a split in here, we'll move on to the last bolt, which will be this exact same thing, except with a lot more erased. Oops, I hit the delete button instead of the enter key. Which if you're wondering why I'm doing this, it's to kind of just break up the lightning a little bit. There's some little pockets in it. Let's just delete that straight up. Delete those two. All right, and then we'll just copy this whole thing, paste it into 12, go back to our erase tool, and forgot to turn that down, and I'll erase a bit more. Why does it keep doing that? Oh, and one thing I should have done on the previous one, grab all these, transform tool, and expand it out and move it. That way it goes from here. Probably shouldn't have grabbed the whole thing actually. So let's just grab mostly here. As you can see, I'm not touching the bottom lightning bolt. The reason is because I want to keep it kind of in place. Just make it expand a little bit. Smush it. Bring it back down and over. See how that looks? Drag it this way a tiny bit. Bring it back in so the lightning looks straight. That's a little too dramatic. Yeah, that's better. All right, so we'll grab this again. Delete what we had, because I forgot it's supposed to be expanding a tiny bit when we're doing that. So we'll grab right about to there. Do the exact same thing. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then we'll erase what's left. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it. All right. Now let's see with our 12 frames what we've got. All right, that looks pretty good. The next thing we're going to want to do is go to each of our lightning bolts, select all of them, copy and paste them, and then use whatever your shape select tool is called, and just make like a soft edge version of the bolt. That way it's the same outline of it, but it gives it that eerie glow, or maybe not really eerie, but that nice glow effect. So we'll grab this entire one too. And if you're wondering what hotkeys I'm using, because you're probably just seeing me pushing stuff with the stylus, I'm using hotkey Q, or you can just use this tool over here if you're in Moho. All right, now I'm sure there's at least one person out there wondering why I didn't do the glow effect on separate layers. And the reason for that is actually fairly simple. Or not the glow effect. Yeah, the glow effect, I mean. Why I didn't do that on different layers. And the reason for that is actually interesting. So if we go into our settings, and let me bring this on this screen so you can see it. In Moho at least, and I'm sure there's other programs that use this too, you have this thing called a colorize layer. What that does is it changes your lightning, well, anything in the layer to whatever the color is. So if you'd want, let's say, hang on, let me bring this over too. So if you'd want, say, I don't know, let's do green lightning. So if you'd want some green lightning, this would be the easiest way to achieve it, whether instead of just kind of going into each and every layer and changing them green. So this changes it much faster, and as you can see, doesn't look bad, does it? So you've got just that real quick lightning strike, and it looks really good. And we didn't really have to change anything. Now, if you want the glow effect to be different, which I haven't made that yet, we're going to make that in a second, you could actually do something similar with it. So let me just change this back to blue. And we'll get on to the glow effect. So the glow effect I actually am going to put in a separate layer. And just to keep consistency and shape and everything, we're going to duplicate this layer, and we'll just name this glow. Which I should have duplicated it first, because now we're going to have all this glow effect in here, but we'll work with that. So we're just going to simply hide this layer for a second, go to 1, get what that looks like, back to our glow layer, go into 1, just going to delete that for simplicity's sake, and we're going to change this to a white color. Why can't I see anything? Oh, it's a glow still. Oops. Should I turn that off? All right, and we'll just reduce this down to 96. That way it repeats kind of in rapid session. And see how that looks. That looks pretty good. The only thing I forgot to do that I realize now here at the end is I did not add, let me hide mine real quick. I did not add his glow effect that he did on the ground from the point of impact. As you can see, it kind of pulsates depending on the lightning. But I feel like that's easy enough to do, but I'll just show you real quick how he did it. So just bring back the lightning real fast. If you would want to do something like that, you just use a simple shape tool, fill it in the same color, give it a stroke. Oops, that was an accident. I meant to do it the other way around. Or actually, you don't even need the stroke now that I think about it. You could just do a soft edge. And you just gotta pull it down. Get it about to the point of impact. I know it looks stupid. We're gonna fix the edges here in a second. Now the center of that, he had a little bit of white in it. So we'll just grab this whole shape, shrink it down even more inside it. And change the color of it to just simply white. Does not look as good. Did I miss the shape? If I turn that off, there we go. So you'll probably want to soften the edge of that a little bit. So we'll just do that real fast. I must have just had it turned too high. Let me just bring it on screen so you can see what I'm working with here. Let's turn this from an 11.9 down to, let's try 3. See if that fixes it. Hey, there we go. So there will be your point of impact. You'd probably want to make it bigger. So we'll do that real fast. Oops. Grab it. Zoom in. And scroll down. Let's render that out. So yeah, that would be your point of impact. You could just copy and paste that to each of your frames where you want to have it and grow and shrink it based on how you think you'd want it. But normally when I'm using the lightning, I'm not really doing a point of impact. Probably should do a lot more of those. But yeah, that is how you'd make lightning in Moho 14. I recommend doing this in Moho 14 just simply because of the freehand tool. It works a lot better in Moho than it does, in Moho 14 than it does in Moho 13. If you've used Moho 12, 13, and 14, you know they've vastly improved this tool. But yeah, that's how you animate lightning. Hope this all helped you, and I will see you in the next one.